am very excited to be joined right now with Shelette Stewart to talk about leadership and leadership development as it relates to what we're going to be covering at this year's Queen City Leaders Summit. Thank you so much for being here, Shelette.
Thank you, Ralph. It's a pleasure.
So tell us a little bit about, who are you and what is it that you do as it relates to leadership development?
Yes, so I actually have the pleasure of being both a business practitioner as well as an academician. So I served in leadership roles with Harvard Business School, with corporate America, and I'm actually an entrepreneur. I have my own consultancy, strategic planning is our focus, and it's Stewart Consulting LLC. So I have a myriad of different roles and responsibilities, and I enjoy all of them.
That is fantastic. Well, then you and I have a connection because at Omnichannel Productions, my logo is a fish, and that fish actually comes from, get this, a study from Harvard. So you'll have to take a look at that at some point.
Interesting. Yeah. It's amazing the perspectives and the exposure of Harvard Business School around the globe.
Right.
So never done it.
Yeah, no, there isn't ever a dull moment. So, as it relates to leadership development, we're talking to leaders, aspiring leaders, people in leadership development. And right now, and I know you feel the same way, there's never been a greater need for leaders, true leaders, people who really understand how to bring unity into what's going on right now in the world. And I love the fact that you're doing this, and I'm excited for the folks to hear it. So let me ask you a question, and this is a question I think the audience would love to know. In your opinion, right now, what's the most important tool for a business leader in today's environment?
Good question. It's interesting. Right now, we truly are facing, as you know, unprecedented challenges as well as opportunities, though. So right. I believe that the single most important tool for us as business leaders is to have a solid strategic business plan, but more importantly, one that's vetted in the Word of God. We know that Proverbs 16:3 says that when we commit our plans to the Lord, they will succeed. So that's truly the only way that we can pivot and thrive during these dynamic times and unprecedented challenges.
Wow. And our keynote speakers, David and Jason Benham, who have a very successful company, would agree with you 100%. And they, I'm sure, will be talking about that. So that is so relevant to our audience. And I can tell you, as an entrepreneur, a business plan is both underrated, but I can tell you not one tool is more appreciated. So it's kind of a dichotomy, if you will. Yeah. And I really appreciate that answer. Let me ask you another question as it relates to leadership. In your opinion or your experience, how do leaders fail and how do they succeed? What comes to your mind when you hear that?
I have the pleasure of speaking globally to a number of leaders. And I always say that business people don't plan to fail. They simply fail to follow God's plan. And so we know that in Proverbs 29:18, the Word of God says that where there's no vision or revelation, the people perish. So the only way for us to truly be successful is by strategically integrating biblical principles into every aspect of our business plan and operations. So from our mission and vision statement and competitive analysis to our marketing plan and operations plan, all the way down to our management and organization plan, financial plan, and exit strategy.
Well, I'll tell you, you can never go wrong bringing Proverbs into the origin or foundation of a business as it relates to a plan or the wisdom to run that business. So I applaud you for that. Hey, just because we're so short on time, I have just one more question for you, but I would love to get your answer to this. How do you inspire leaders?
I've had the honor and the privilege of inspiring and equipping leaders at Harvard Business School and corporate America, in the nonprofit sector, and even in the small business community. And I would say that the way that I inspire them is by sharing biblical principles, practical tools, and real life examples on how to develop a plan based on biblical principles, how to connect their business plan with their purpose so that they truly drive bottom line results. And so I share that as an author, as an entrepreneur, as a strategic planning consultant, and as a global keynote speaker.
That's fantastic. I have to tell you, Shelette, I'm so glad we were able to get you to speak to us for a few minutes. I know this audience is going to find this very valuable, and I'm looking forward to seeing you at this year's Queen City Leaders Summit on September the 30th. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been my pleasure. I'm looking forward to it as well.